Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today we're breaking down the surreal, unhinged, and full-color third episode of WandaVision. Now, the episode begins with an opening reminiscent of 1970s sitcoms like The Brady Bunch, with a hopping and groovy tune and a compilation of Wanda and Vision living their best lives. They are shown eating ice cream, reading Glamorous magazine, the same one that Wanda was told about by Agnes in the show's premiere, and of course we see them zooming around town preparing for the birth of their child. Everything seemed to be perfect, but of course that's before the doctor tells them they seem to be 4 months pregnant. In that moment, the classically misogynistic doctor tells the couple that Wanda is already almost halfway through her pregnancy, even though the two supers only realized she was pregnant the day before and only had their beds next to each other that one day. After confirming this sudden pregnancy though, on Dr. Nielsen's way out, Vision discovers he is planning to take a vacation with his wife before Vision sees his neighbor Herb cutting into the concrete wall between their properties. And this is the first sign in this episode that the reality around Wanda and Vision seems to continuously become less stable. Everyone is not behaving like they should. I'm not much of a handyman, but I just honestly don't think there's any real rational reason for Herb to be cutting into the wall. When Vision returns to Wanda though, he's then shocked by the reality that his wife got a lot more pregnant in his absence.
Whoa, Nelly! Have you gotten bigger?
Have I?
But the two don't really fret over how their children are suddenly spontaneously growing within Wanda. They just continue to prepare the nursery like everything going on around them is completely normal. That continues to not be the case though, especially when Wanda begins to show that she might not have full control over her abilities. We start to see that the Scarlet Witch is manipulating her world subconsciously.
Oh, it's such a strange sensation. It's kind of fluttery. Oh, did I do that? I didn't mean to.
And while a sitcom world in itself isn't a true depiction of what life is actually like, what Wanda and Vision were going through wasn't even abiding by the typical sitcom rules. The comedy kept flowing and the love between Wanda and Vision and their new baby, or babies really, was strong, but other than their sweet bickering over what they should name their son, nothing was really going as planned. But maybe in a way that's actually a good depiction of how life goes. No one really knows what's going to happen next in their lives. And that's especially true when Wanda begins to experience a false labor. When that happens, her home goes haywire as her powers come out again without her intentionally using them. Wanda's magic even gets to a point where their entire block loses power, leaving Wanda and Vision to just be completely stunned and worried over whether or not their friends and neighbors would discover who Wanda and Vision were. But when Vision hears that this existence they were living in might be something that could be in jeopardy or might seem unreal, he begins to reflect on the unusual circumstances that have kept coming up in the sitcom reality thus far, which leads to the sitcom world being halted for a more dramatic and quiet moment, which all culminates into Vision stating,
I think something's wrong here, Wanda.
As soon as the questioning arose though, it was stopped as Wanda seemed to skip back to a time before Vision's realization about their world in a similar way to what she did when she saw the beekeeper in episode 2. Only now, instead of rewinding time, this moment changed instantaneously. With some supporting words from Vision given to Wanda through her intervention, she then spontaneously jumps into real labor, which was an endeavor Vision had thought wouldn't happen for days into the future, but was now upon them. And all this became further supported by another surge of Wanda's powers.
I think my water just broke.
Then we are shown this week's commercial break, which depicts a mother getting a break from her quiet life with the help of Hydra Soak. While this commercial, I think, is alluding to the fact that Wanda is attempting to avoid her chaotic and depressing life in the sitcom world, the luxury bath powder's brand is of course referring to the Nazi cult that formed under the Red Skull, who inevitably took down S.H.I.E.L.D. and helped manifest Wanda Maximoff's powers with the help of the Mind Stone. The very powers that would continue to go awry when Vision left to go get the doctor to help deliver their baby. Before the doctor arrived though, Wanda had to manage her contractions on her own, which became even more difficult when her friend Geraldine arrived at the house, who Wanda met in the previous episode and is actually someone we've met before. As I explained in my episode 2 breakdown, the actress who plays Geraldine has been confirmed by Marvel as playing a character by the name of Monica Rambeau, who was the daughter of Captain Marvel's best friend. She was the little girl who helped Captain Marvel choose the colors of her suit in the 1990s, but now in the present day, she's a grown adult who I had guessed was an agent of SWORD. And that quickly becomes confirmed by the necklace that she's wearing when she arrives at Wanda's home. You see, the sword and circle symbol that Monica is wearing is the same one that appeared on the colorful helicopter and the beekeeper suit in episode 2, and refers to an organization that will soon be known in the MCU as the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division. In the comics, this group was an extension of S.H.I.E.L.D. and was tasked with watching over and protecting the universe, which likely means that Monica is one of many agents who are attempting to undo Wanda's reality shifting. Oh, and I also think it's possible that this new group was being established and worked on by Nick Fury and was the reason he was working with the Skrulls after the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the defeat of Thanos in Spider-Man Far From Home. All of that to say, Geraldine isn't who she says she is, which will become important after Wanda's children are born. In front of the woman known as Geraldine, Wanda attempts to use classic sitcom techniques to attempt to hide her pregnancy belly by wearing a big jacket and hiding behind a bowl of fruit, which I remember learning about from the behind the scenes videos for How I Met Your Mother and The Office, since the actresses who played Lily and Angela respectively were both pregnant while they were on those shows. While Wanda tries to hide her pregnancy, her powers continue to behave sporadically and wildly as well. Probably the most crazy thing that happens is a stork starts marching around Wanda and Vision's home, but weirdly enough, she can't actually remove that bird from the world. Even though some red reality-changing puffs of smoke seem to go up around the stork to represent Wanda's magic being used, for some reason it wouldn't go away, which leads me to believe that Wanda may not have as much control over her reality as we might have thought. Sure, she's able to use her magic and alter her world, but there seems to be a massive disconnect between her intentions and the changes that come about in her life. Now, once Monica finally learns that Wanda is in the process of giving birth, her firstborn son quickly comes after some interesting birthing phases and a wild display of magical events. Soon after the boy is born, Vision and Dr. Nielsen arrive after practically flying back, but while Vision missed the birth of his first child, who they would name Tommy, the second boy, Billy, came soon afterward with Vision's presence. But who are Wanda and Vision's twins? Well, Tommy and Billy in the comics were initially manifested by Wanda to be her and Vision's children, and were given souls by connecting them with the essence of the Marvel devil known as Mephisto. So the births of Tommy and Billy may indicate that powerful demon may be rising in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We know that Doctor Strange 2: Madness of the Multiverse will connect to WandaVision and the third Spider-Man film, and they all are going to have some type of multiverse connection to it, and maybe Mephisto is the one who will link all of those stories together. Regardless though, after being reabsorbed by Mephisto and being reincarnated, Tommy would grow up to become a speedster like his uncle Pietro and establish himself as a hero known as Speed, while Billy would become a superpowered warlock and would be remembered as the young Avenger known as Wiccan. Once Wanda and Vision's twins are born though, the tension of the episode begins to escalate again, and the sitcom aesthetic is ripped apart. The reality just struggles to stay together as Dr. Nielsen reveals that he won't be going on his trip to Bermuda, a place often associated with supernatural activity, because he just can't get away.
Small towns, you know, so hard to escape.
Agnes and Herb also act very secretive and eventually open up to Vision that Geraldine's existence in the town doesn't make sense.
There's no family, no husband, no home.
And after Wanda shared with the woman who is known as Geraldine that she had a twin brother named Pietro and sung a Sokovian lullaby, Monica revealed that she knew a lot more about Wanda than she might have initially let on. The friend who went by Geraldine, who we know as Monica Rambeau, shows that she can break out of Wanda's hold on reality by bringing up what happened to Wanda's brother.
He was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
And of course, Pietro was killed by Ultron when he saved Hawkeye and a child's life while battling to stop Sokovia from being used as a projectile to destroy the world. In Wanda's sitcom reality, though, that's not what Wanda expected or wanted to hear, which leads Scarlet Witch to question her friend. Now, while Monica attempted to just go back to their bright, goofy, and happy conversations and be a good friend, Wanda resisted returning to her life before she figured out what she wanted to do with Monica, especially when she saw the sword symbol that almost has been haunting her over the last few days. It gets even wilder though when Herb begins to start telling Vision about what they are doing within that town. But Herb was eventually silenced by Agnes, who, if you remember from my previous breakdowns, is most likely a powerful witch originally known in the comics as Agatha Harkness.
She came here because we're all what? What are you trying to tell me?
She came here because we're all...
Stop it.
And eventually, the neighbors just go back to their sitcom lives at the same time that Wanda starts to ask Monica to explain who she is, leaving the person who called herself Geraldine completely speechless. When Vision bursts through the door, the sitcom realm that felt destabilized throughout the entirety of the third episode is left feeling completely rattled as ominous music blasts in the background, which had been building throughout all of these confrontations. At this point, Wanda and Vision clearly both have an understanding that their world is broken. But when Vision asks about what happened to the person they knew was Geraldine, Wanda attempted to bring them back to their 1970s sitcom by blatantly lying to him when she stated that Geraldine had to run home. And this episode further feels disturbed because unlike the first two episodes where we were shown credits rolling on Wanda and Vision's make-believe TV show, instead we are shown Monica Rambeau getting launched out of the barrier between Wanda's reality and SWORD's established military presence. Unlike other episodes where we only saw a desk watching over Wanda's sitcom and Agent Woo calling to ask Wanda who was controlling her, now we see the scale of SWORD's force and the effort they are putting in to attempt to undo Wanda's alterations to the world. The mystery that's being established, the weight of the story, and how all of WandaVision will connect to the greater MCU, I think is going to continue to be seen as more of the world bleeds into Wanda's reality. And all of that suspense mixed with the modern day sitcoms that I grew up enjoying gets me really excited about the next episodes. The future looks incredibly bright for this series, but as Wanda's reality continues to become less and less stable, the state of Wanda and her new family, I think, might begin to hang in the balance. Fine people, make sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell if you're new, and then click on another magical video in the description or on the screen. Finally, as always, thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day.